Hey friends, we're so glad you're here and have tuned into So, What Makes You Come Alive podcast. We're your hosts, Gabe the Girl
and Michaela McGee, and we're here to explore what it would look like to take ownership of and change the narratives of our lives to live a life fully alive. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 5. We are so excited to be here again this week with a new guest. This is my Facebook friend, Willemijn. We actually met on Facebook, which is wild, but this is the way of the world these days. And I think it's just incredible that we can actually meet people from all over the world on social media and have truly meaningful connections, like almost instantly. I mean, I don't even know when we met, sometime in fall of 2021, and somehow slid into each other's DMs and started having some like truly impactful conversations. Like I was so inspired by the way that Willemijn lives her life with such intention and purpose in everything that she's doing. So for me, when we talked about starting this podcast, I had her in the back of my mind as somebody that I definitely want to bring on here and hear all about her. But first, Willemijn, would you like to share with us a little bit about your background, your story, where you are, what you're doing today? I know that that's a loaded question, so take it or leave it. Say what you feel like sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to this podcast. I'm really honored, I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So basically, I am Willemijn. I'm 23 years old, and I'm now backpacking through Australia. And basically, my intent for traveling was why not? Because the world has so much to offer, and why would you not make use of it and explore the whole world? So slowly I started to become more in an entrepreneur, and lately I'm focusing on really helping people discovering also who they are and what they want to get out of life, and also basically the same questions where you guys keep yourself busy with, what is it exactly that you want to get out of life? And it fascinates me so much, and it drives me, and that was also most of the time the point of our conversations that we had on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we're also great friends, because of those, because of the mutual interest in what makes you feel alive, and why do you want to live, and why is that you're here? So through the backpacking, I've done different jobs, farm jobs, cleaning jobs, and I meet different kind of people all over the place. And I find it so fascinating also to see the different types of cultures, how people stand in life, and how it all comes together. So I'm now combining all my experiences in basically my coaching business, and I would say that's why we're here for.
That is amazing.
Gabe the Girl here. I'm here as well with Michaela. We're just so excited to have you on the podcast today, and excited to get started.
Yeah.
Michaela will round us up with our first question.
Yeah. Thank you for that lovely intro. And yes, of course, Gabe is always here. We can't have this podcast without her. Just sneakily being in the background there. Thank you for that intro. Honestly, it's an inspiration to me to see somebody living out this dream of mine to just go backpacking through cool places in the world. So thank you for letting me live vicariously through you, and so many other people too. They can just follow your travels now. Right. So let's get into the meat of this amazing podcast. What is it that makes you come alive?
Yeah. So I thought about this question for quite a while, and I basically came to 3 answers. And it's basically it has to happen with the question why not? Why would you not do the things that you want to do and other stuff? The second thing is also the nature. When I'm walking in the nature, or close to the sea, watching a sunset, walking in the forest and seeing like a beautiful little bird on a tree. Or when I see people interact with each other, you're like observing that, and like you realize the magic from it, like what actually is going on right in front of your eyes. And sometimes I realize like I barely can even comprehend it with like my consciousness. And I find it so amazing. Like it's life. It's magic. It's there, and like I can't put it into words. Like what I feel, but I hope I you can feel now in my energy. But yeah, it fascinates me so much. And also when I'm in the forest and I see those little birds sitting on a tree, and I'm just quiet because I feel inspired. I feel peace. I feel harmonized, and I feel just good. And it's the same when I see people interacting. Like it might even be a fight what they have, but they're still interacting in a certain way, and there's still stuff happening what you don't see if you go fast in life. But if you stand still, you look at it, it's beautiful. Doesn't matter in which way. And it's the same with why not? Why will you not do things? And I think for me, what makes me feel alive is feeling, because feeling is what creates power, and feeling is what drives you also. And one of the reasons that I want to live is I'm basically chasing, not completely chasing, but also attracting the feeling of freedom, mentally freedom. And that's indeed living with an intention, living with the will to want to live. So what makes me feel alive is that feeling, and that's where I basically go for. And how do you get it? For me, out of the nature and out of people interacting with each other. So yeah,
that's beautiful. It is in the small things. Sorry, go ahead, Gabe.
No, I was just gonna ask, what are your favorite like parts of nature? Like if you could name like a couple of them that you're like, this. What are those?
Definitely the forest, definitely. And then I will say like very specific, like a lake and like a good view with like a few kilometers, like over a big view. And I would also say like sitting on top of a mountain and looking over the whole line, the whole skyline. I think that's amazing for me. And when I watch a sunset by the sea, that's what also amazes me. Yeah, basically those two things.
Yeah. I'm just watching Gabe's eyes light up as you're saying all these things. It's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's so amazing.
Truly. I'm right there with you, sister.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are all like, I mean, it's beautiful examples. I just think it's so important to note that like it's tiny little things that when we just pause and see it and stand in the wonder and awe of it all, like how can you not live lit up?
Yeah. Like you realize also like how tiny we are as people compared to the whole nature. Like our problems, we think our problems are big, but it's nothing compared to what you all see out there.
Right.
Yeah. Our world is so complex, and there are things happening outside of like our ability to control it or make it do what it does. It just knows how. Like, the rain falls, but we don't make it do it. The tide comes in, but we don't make it happen. And getting lost in that wonder and that awe, like we talked a little bit about last week. Like it's just captivating. You feel really small, but you also feel very significant and important. At least that's how I've felt in nature as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know if you guys also have this experience, but also when I see like some buildings that are built and you see the construction of it, I'm also amazed. I'm like, just how do like I can't put it into words because I'm amazed by it. Like, how do people come up with it? I think it's genius.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same. It leaves me also in awe.
Yeah.
But this right here, like the fact that you're finding awe in such what seems to be like a simple thing. Like, well, I mean, buildings are complex for sure. Yeah, I can't build a building, but like you can appreciate that. You probably would appreciate like a Lego structure that a kid builds because it's a creative release and it's beautiful and it's so sweet. But like that is really inspiring to me to see other people who can see the tiny little things and find awe, find something amazing in the simple, in the simplicity of it all. Like, and yet it's not simple. Oh my gosh, so many layers of this.
Yeah. And that's why I like it also sometimes to look at children, because if you observe them, the things what they find fascinating, it's so good because they have curious minds and they're little, so they find everything. They find it great. Well, most of the things, of course, but and it makes me realize that we also need to do it more as like adults, because why not? What do we have to lose?
Nothing.
That childlike spirit, that childlike heart, like keeping the wonder, like fighting for your heart to be tender towards the world around you. It literally is a day-to-day struggle, right?
Yeah.
It's good. Oh, I love hearing about all those things that make you come alive. And man, that some of that even resonates with me. Like Michaela was saying, my eyes are like lighting up over here. But what continues to help to like inspire you or encourage you to live with those things that light you up and inspire you to live a life fully alive?
That's a great question. Basically, what for me always has driven me is I don't want to work for someone else whole my life and don't see anything of the world. Like, sure, people can find that life fulfilling, people can find that life nice, and people want that life if they want it and they stand behind it. Hey, be my guest, do that. If it makes you happy, do it. That's good. But I know it doesn't make me happy because, it's not, I just know somewhere deep inside me, it's not made for me. Like, I feel like I can get so much more out of myself and provide to the world, to contribute by living my life in this way, how I'm living it now. And so basically, to come back on your question again, like what drives me really is that feeling of like, no, I can get more out of life. There's more. Let's get it. Yeah. Short answer.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that separates you from the masses, honestly, is that you know that there is something more. I know that there's a lot of people that do see it that way, but like if you think about society at large, it's you go to school and then you keep going to school and then you go to more school and then you get married and you have babies and you start your career and you do all the things like the pre-programmed way of doing life. And it's amazing to me and really inspiring, honestly, that like at a relatively young age, you knew that wasn't something that you wanted. And you said, okay, I'm going to do something else. Like you didn't still follow in the programming just because that's what you're supposed to do, big air quotes around that. Like you knew that your heart wanted something else and you went and did it. Like that, like being inspired by your own feelings, your own like inner knowing of something else, something bigger, that's a massive drive. But it's really, it's amazing that you gave yourself the space and freedom to be able to do that and to know that like that you can, you know?
But also like again, like why not? And like it may be hard indeed, but life is gonna be hard at some point anyway, because it will test you if you really want it. And why not?
So I think I missed this. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. So Michaela
I
was
know.
saying at a
Yeah.
relatively young age, I'm like, whoa, 23. I
Right.
think at
She
20, at
sounds so
23, I was
mature.
still figuring it out. I
Too.
was like, wait,
Same.
wait, I don't have to follow this thing that I thought I was supposed to do, this timeline of things. I was still figuring it out. And here you are like living it out. There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
breaking the mold. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I know that like people look and talk and whatever, and they're just like, but why and how? And you know,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I guess speaking of all of this stuff, like what challenges have you faced personally? I mean, as much personal stuff as you really want to share, but like in pursuing this life, in actually saying yes to this is the feeling that I want and I'm going to do something about it. Like I want to live a life fully alive. What kind of challenges have come up for you?
That's also a good question. So it's more my own thought about other people's opinion. So other people's opinion, so people who are close to me, their opinion, they told their opinion to me. But it's my own thought who decided to let them in and let me get down and all that stuff. So for me, what was the biggest challenge was dealing with my own thoughts and my own unconscious in how I could make myself believe in myself again. And it's more like booking the ticket. I was the first one that I knew that went like solo traveling. So I was more like, okay, am I really gonna do this? Am I really gonna push the button of like buying the ticket? And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was only 20 at the time, and I was like 21 when I started traveling. So I booked the ticket, and then I arranged all the other stuff. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna travel for 5 years. And now the plan is extended to almost like not settling down before I'm 30 or 40.
I love this.
Yeah. So it's more that I've come across challenges during the traveling than before, actually. Because now I'm traveling, I'm away from home, I see different people, different cultures. I live in a different setting compared to home. And it really shakes my tree, basically, from where I come from. And that's where I also realized like it's my core values and my personality who stays the same, but it's my environment and the things that I find important is what changes, and it's okay to let it go. And that challenge to turn that around, from to let it go, all those opinions and all those things what I've been taught, to let that go, was for me the biggest challenge. And I'm sometimes still have a challenge with it, but it's getting better every time. Like different challenges, but it's good, because without them I don't realize how far I've come. So yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that came from like your own culture? Because like I've never been to the Netherlands. Like you're probably the only person that I've ever met, you know, that like it's from the Netherlands.
So cool.
Like that's amazing, so cool. You know, and I'm curious because, you know, I know what I know from my upbringing in the United States. I'm learning a little bit more each day about where I am in Spain and the culture of Spain and the influences of families and friends here on how people do life. And I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what we basically have in the Netherlands is, so you go to primary school and then high school, and then you get an education, and then basically you get like a job, and then you work the rest of your life, and then you go to retirement, and then retirement house sometimes, or you live by family, and that's basically it, like the your life. And so it's also very important to make like a right career decision early on, and career changes that they do happen, but not that often. So yeah, based on that, it's, how do I explain it more? It's a simple life, basically, I would say. But for me, it's not fulfilling. I would say I live now also a simple life, but in a different way. So maybe simple is not the right word. It's more like, I would say it's in Netherlands, it can be a very traditional life. And it's more expected from you if you, that you go studying, that you go do an education, that you go as the women, you get the children, and you stay home as a mom. And yeah, that's what puts me off a little bit. If that answers your question.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. That's good.
We've got such a hodgepodge in the United States of different cultures and different family upbringings that, you know, you've got some families living that very similar, simple life. You've got people who constantly move for work and, you know, like have grown up traveling with their parents or have lived abroad in many different places with their families. You know, so it's interesting to hear from somebody who grew up in a different country, like what their experience has been and how it has influenced who they are and the decisions that they're making. And I love hearing that you were like, I'm gonna forge my own path here. And it may end up looking simple wherever I go, but I'm gonna try something new, and we're gonna go for it, and we'll see what happens. But we're gonna write a really great story along the way, right?
Yeah.
Was there anybody? Did anybody in your family, like when you were growing up, did you have relatives or like family friends or anything that traveled a lot? Or I'm just so curious, like where your desire to live abroad, to experience different cultures and all of that stuff came from.
I remember when I was in the last grade of my primary school, there was a moment where we needed to make like a project or paper about the country. And then some girls were talking about like holidays and all stuff. And I thought like, oh, later I'm going to go to Thailand and I'm going to go to Iceland and Norway. I'm going to go there on holiday. Fast forward, my niece, my cousin, she is basically, she was traveling around. She was basically studying everywhere. So she stayed for 3 months, 6 months on different places over a couple of years. And so I've always seen her traveling. And so basically those two moments have led me to the decision that I was like, why not? Why am I not going to travel when I graduate with my education? So,
Man. And good for you. Honestly, okay, so going back like a couple of conversations ago to the way that you were explaining your biggest challenge being like the thoughts that you have based on somebody else's opinion. All I could think the whole time was like, man alive, how different would my life be right now if I had that mindset, had that perspective when I was 23. Holy moly, that's incredible. And like you have your entire life ahead of you. Like you already have that mindset. You can already recognize these challenges it's my own stuff. Like it has nothing to do with anybody else. I get to work through it. I've created space, like a physical geographical distance, you know, from people or from whatever might have triggered me before, but like I'm working through it and presently enjoying my life. Holy moly. I think that you might need to write a book, teach some courses, make sure you help people out. Like clearly this is very in line with like what you're doing with your coaching business. And it's so much of who you are, but like, oh my gosh, 23-year-old Michaela is really jealous of you right now. Man.
Yeah, Thanks.
It's just, yeah, it's amazing. That intentionality is huge, right?
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Thank you for being
It's
awesome.
funny. Thank you. It's also nice to hear because I don't realize it like that. I'm always like, oh yeah, whatever. It's like that, but apparently not. So that's good to know.
Well, I think what's really awesome is that you've decided at such a young age to like take agency in writing you know, a different story for yourself. You came to the realization that like, man, these things are really challenging for me. And now that I know that these things are challenging for me, my responsibility to that is like, what do I do with it? Like, am I going to ignore it? Am I going to shut it off in a closet somewhere? Because I mean, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I could just continue down that road. But you did the brave thing and you said, nope, I've got to face these things and I've got to make something of it. And I've got to take whatever challenges lie ahead and I've got to overcome them.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah. Because I remember, so there was also one moment, like my dad told me sometimes stories about his own life and experience that he had, and he told me the lessons of it, and he put the lessons on my heart, like make sure you learn from those lessons and don't make the wrong decision for that. And I appreciate that because you can learn a lot from other people's decisions and choices and how it all works out. But I was also a big fan of like quotes as a kid, and I'm still a big fan. And I always thought those quotes that are all out there, they're made with a reason. People have learned lessons from them. And then at one point, I heard a story from my dad, and I saw a quote. And I remember consciously choosing for the quote, if you can dream it, you can do it, instead of being realistic. I remember choosing therefore, and I was like, yeah, why not? So something, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just what? It's like, it's a different decision. It's where you choose for. You have a choice.
Yeah. Oh, we all have a choice.
Right. Woof.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of quotes, I think that we might end up quoting you right here, right now. We would love to know, what encouragement or wisdom nugget can you give to anyone who desires to pursue living a life more fully alive and fully lit up? We're quoting you on this. So.
Choose wisely.
I'm gonna. So I'm a real big fan of the quote from Walt Disney: "If you can dream it, you can do it." And I will want to add to that: it's your choice that you need to make. If you want to do it, go 100% for it, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
You can dream it, you can do it. If you want to do it, go 100%.
Yes.
And it's your choice.
And it's your choice. Yes, it's your choice.
Oh my gosh. Man, my eyes are bugging out. I have no words.
So good.
Yeah. That's like a big fat little nugget.
I know. I'm wondering, I'm like, should we reword our question there? I love the word nugget, but these what we like to say nugget because it doesn't have to be anything huge, but we're getting some really great encouragement from you all, and man.
Yeah. It's giving me so much.
I think it's also a great question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think it's also a great question. So
yeah. Well, these are like, well, obviously, maybe not obviously. First of all, these questions were definitely like thought about with great intention and everything. But to me, it's so amazing, I guess, to just bring these questions that Gabe and I have talked about for so long now to somebody else and hear,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, whoa, you are taking this in a whole different way. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much from each of these conversations. And I keep saying the same words, like amazing and incredible, but that's really how it feels. And yet it goes back to, it's the tiny little things. It's the small things that we can find that awe and wonder in. And it's our freaking choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
is.
So simple.
Yeah. Because now in the like my day is still starting, but when I go outside, it's my choice to see the beauty in the nature while I walk around, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I kind of resonate with that a little bit in my experience moving back to Spain. I'm on the like opposite side of Spain. I was in South, now I'm in North. And getting to know my surroundings, of course, you keep your head down for a while. You know, you're navigating new streets, you're trying not to step in places you shouldn't, like weaving in and out around people, you know, but then I come to a point about 6 months into a new place where I start to make the choice to look up, and I just see so much more, and so much more captivates me as I'm walking the same streets I've been walking for 6 months already, right? So like, yeah, I just think of, you know, the people that you've even encouraged today that may be listening to this, and you know, maybe they'll, you know, be able to step out their front door and see something that catches their eye and awe and wonder that they've never seen before. Maybe they've been living in the same, you know, home for 20 years, who knows, you know, but they get to look around in the coffee shop where they're listening to this, or, you know, as they're driving, you know, in their car, or they're taking the metro, and they get to look around and be encouraged to see and experience, like make the choice to see things from a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Exactly. Man alive.
These podcasts are a little overwhelming. we're only like 5 deep, but I'm like swimming in all of the goodness.
Right? But I love it. I love that these little nuggets get to be something that we just put in our pocket for a rainy day. I mean, it's rainy out here right now, but it's true. Like, I can look outside and be like, ugh, gray clouds again. Or I can look outside and suddenly see how green the grass is because it's been raining.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild and crazy.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for like being the personification, the you know, you are the living, breathing, you know, person behind, you know, the answers that are coming from you, you know, for what we asked you today. It's just super cool.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I also appreciate it to be here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This has just been so great. And I really hope, I trust actually, that every single one of our listeners is going to be wildly encouraged by how simple it gets to be. We have the power of choice in every moment of every day to choose the life that we want, or choose to see things in a new way and work towards that life that we truly desire. I'm greatly inspired by you every single day, by you choosing to completely break the mold and live this life that you're living right now. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insight and for being part of this conversation today.
Thanks a lot for having me also. I really enjoyed it, and I really love it also that you guys ask me those questions so that I can answer them, because that's also the thing. So thanks a lot for that.
Welcome.
Make me cry. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you. Yay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this week for our conversation with our beautiful, wonderful new friend. If you guys have any questions, or if anything resonated with you and you're excited to share, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on either Facebook or Instagram. Leave a comment on YouTube, and we'll be talking with you soon.
Yes. See you all next week.
All right, see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to So What Makes You Come Alive. We're so inspired by the conversations we get to have with everyday humans about what lights them up and how to love the story they're living. We hope that you feel just as inspired too.
Interested in getting in on the inspiration? Click the link in our Instagram bio @ThriveFullyAlive and select the option for The One About You, Be Our Guest. Remember to tune in each week for a new episode where we explore what it looks like to get back to living our best story, where we hope that your favorite story becomes your own.